from the official minutes. Would you continue this practice?
Could you say that question again?
Recently, public comments at township meetings were eliminated from the official minutes. Would you continue this practice?
Absolutely not. One of the problems that we have in the township right now is lack of transparency, lack of trust between the populace and the elected officials. When I was a city commissioner, what we did was we had opening comments for people. We allowed you to make comments on each agenda item, and I think that's appropriate because people may have input on that particular item, not just in general in the beginning. We can have a much better community if we have open and honest debate. And the idea that you are going to stifle that, I think is terrible. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Conzelman?
Well, that question is misleading because we haven't eliminated public comments from the minutes of the official township minutes. We record the person's name and we record the comment in an abbreviated fashion. So I carried on the policy of the prior clerk, didn't really make any changes. The prior clerk had eliminated names from the minutes, but we restored the names about a year ago. So the purpose of township minutes is to record the actual actions taken by the board and not to record verbatim public comments in the minutes. So the question was actually misleading because it's not true.
Well, these are questions for the audience.
But I'm just saying that it's not true.
Okay. The next one, we'll start with Ms. Conzelman. If organizations that register voters would receive the authority of a clerk's assistant, newly registered voters would be allowed to vote absentee the first time they voted. This is especially helpful for high school seniors going off to college. Would you support this practice?
I support any practice that would make it easier and more convenient for people to vote and easier for high school students to register to vote. They get driver's licenses at age 16, and at that time, when they're registering with the Secretary of State, it would be actually a good thing to register them to vote at the same time. They couldn't vote till they were 18, but at least they would be registered when they are going in front of an official government office at that time. We have held, for the reason that seniors in high school are going off to college, and it is a big presidential year, we held several different voter registration drives at the high school this year, and they were very successful, and parents and students alike were very grateful that their students were going to be registered before they went off to college, and then they could get an absent voter ballot. They could be registered in person. Thank you.
Mr. Vorva?
Thank you. Anytime that you can increase voting for the populace, I think is great. I think all of us know the stats. The people that vote the most, or most often, are older people. And really the younger people are underrepresented very often in elections. And I think anything that we can do to encourage them to participate, to exercise this franchise would be a very good idea. And that starts early on. And as clerk, I would go to the schools and put on programs to talk about voting, about how it's done. Almost like the cartoons we used to see in the 60s and 70s, Schoolhouse Rock. You go in there and do something and really allow the kids to take part of it and make a good demonstration of it. Thank you.
Okay. The next question, we'll start with Mr. Vorva. Is it the responsibility of the township clerk to alert a candidate of a minor error on their application to run for public office? Why or why not?
It absolutely is. On the form, there's a place for it to be reviewed. The person to review that is the clerk. In the instance you're talking about, the clerk failed to review it, didn't sign it, still sent it to the county, and then told the particular candidate that everything was fine. Now, I think this is misfeasance. and I think it's underhanded, and I think it's terrible that it happened. They have an absolute duty to educate everybody that comes in to run for office. You have an absolute duty to help people who are seeking to use this franchise to do it properly. And the fact that it wasn't done is, in my opinion, almost criminal.
Thank you. Ms. Conzelman?
The Michigan Court of Appeals disagrees with that assessment by my opponent.
Please, no
The
comments from
Michigan
the
Court of
audience.
Appeals ruled that it was the county's responsibility to look at that. There's a difference between the documentation that goes along with the petitions and the affidavit of identity. The affidavit of identity is notarized when the candidate signs it. Candidate goes over it, and if the candidate cannot fill in all the blanks, the candidate should not, if they're a responsible person, be relying on someone else to catch their mistakes. There's a difference. There's a statute that specifically requires review of the petitions. The affidavit of identity is a completely different document. When I did see it, I did correct it with some candidates. Wayne County corrected it with some candidates. So it was missed, and both of those candidates had the exact same amount of time to review their paperwork as me.
Ms. Conzelman.
So,
Wait a minute, I'm outraged. I am completely
Oh,
outraged. She said
excuse
she
me.
corrected it for other people. Who, Price and Edwards?
Excuse me, Mr. Vorva.
Dorshevitz.
Please, no comments like that with each other. We'll take the next question now. Ms. Conzelman, is it the responsibility of the township clerk to alert a candidate? Oh, we just did that, I'm sorry. I apologize. Do you support combining forces with the city of Plymouth for public safety or recreational ventures? What are some of the impediments that might make this difficult?
One of the impediments that makes it difficult, and I do support joint programs with other communities, but when it comes to programs that really only benefit one community and require a significant, in the case of PARC, 50% tax increase on township residents, where township residents would be paying 80% of the cost of a $40 million orchestra hall, I don't support that. I support looking at the needs on the greater community, as a greater community, looking at all of the needs, and then sitting down and figuring out what the community is lacking, and not having a program where we have a building in search of a purpose, and and the other impediment is that the city owes the township $4 million. And so that is a huge obstacle to working with the city.
Thank you.